guess I don't have to introduce myself now. That was one of the directions that was given to me. But thank you so much for that, Jessica. I really appreciate it. I think that the one thing that is important to know about me in the 30-something plus years, I won't go into how many years that I've been a public servant and an advocate for children, is that I really do have a deep sense of urgency about this work, and because this work is truly about ending racist and classist practices. And I think that if we don't have organizations like GO doing this work, then we are not going to be successful in ending those practices. As a busy superintendent, I have made a conscious decision to support GO. I'm a resident of Oakland, as Jessica said, and this board, I am on this board actually for two reasons. One is a very noble reason. So, you know, I stand before you saying that, you know, for when I moved back to Oakland, I was one of those African-American families that during the 80s, I won't go back too far, much further than that, but during the 80s, I left Oakland. Oakland wouldn't hire me. They lost my application 5 times. I just, you know, I graduated from Stanford. I wanted to give back to my community and become a teacher, and could not get an interview. I wound up being a temporary teacher in Danville and stayed there 17 years. I had no idea I was going to stay there so long, but wound up being one of those middle-class families that moved out of Oakland and was not contributing to its resurgence. And so, but I had the opportunity to come back to Oakland. My husband and I really, really, really wanted to be. Had no idea we were going to, you know, live in the suburbs so long. Life just gets in front of you. You have 3 sons. They're going to school. Things are great, and before you know it, where the years go. And back in 2000, early 2000, when Dennis Chaconis and then Randy Ward were doing the first round of school reform, and you know, at the end of the 21st century, I had the opportunity to come and lead the dismantling of a failed public school, which was Castlemont High School at the time. We had 8 academies with less than the requisite number of students in the program, and we had 400 and 500 students walking up and down the street without a schedule at that time, without a school schedule, and it was absolutely shameful. And I thought, if they want me to be a part of this, I'm going to be a part of this. So we sold our home in the suburbs and moved to Oakland, and have never looked back, because it was probably something that I really wanted to do some 30 years before. The other thing that's to be a part of a resurgence of a city isn't just, you know, buying a home, closing your doors, hoping that you don't get robbed, which I've been twice, and you know, living the same life and acting the same way as you did when you pretended like what was going on around you in the greater world did not affect you. And so coming to Oakland and being part of transforming and dismantling schools, and being a part of at least attempting, making an effort to change and interrupt stuff, was really, really powerful for me. So that sounds like great and noble, and what a wonderful person that you are, Deborah. There was another part of me, I have to honestly say, that was not so noble in this decision to be a part of the resurgence of the city of Oakland. And that has to do with this. I mentioned that my house has been robbed. Actually, last week it was robbed. And yeah, and I think that if we want to, if all of us collectively want to be a part of contributing to creating citizens that can contribute and be a part of a democratic society that is essentially producing smart and contributing citizens, we have to all make a conscious effort to be a part of this work. And so, my selfish reason is, I want somebody to be able to take care of me when I retire. I want, good citizens that will make it okay for me to walk down the street, and people that are making good decisions on school boards, and all the legacy of being, kind of a baby boomer, to really make the world that I live in and that you live in a better place. Sounds a little hokey, but it's true. So for some time now, as you all know, the Go Network has been engaged in a great deal of family advocacy and student advocacy, and they've been doing this by influencing policy. They've been doing this by really being urgent about the change that needs to happen, and for the children and families in Oakland. Sometimes we have to be honest about the public school systems that we live in, and quite frankly, they're pretty glacial in nature. It's like, things are just kind of moving along. You move the ball down the field a little bit, then you go back. It's like a football game. I don't know much about football, but I know you go up the field, you go down the field, you go up, you go back, and then finally you make a touchdown. Right? And so that's all I need to know. That's right. Okay. But it's not even moving at the speed of a game, a football game. At least, when my husband watches a football game, we know that it's going to be over in a few hours. But that's just the way it is. But the system is so slow. It's like an iceberg, and so it's just moving. And so we can't keep doing the same thing expecting to get a different result. And so Go pushes the envelope on that all the time. And they challenge the status quo. They challenge us to think differently. They ask and demand and push in ways that make it easier for me and folks like our board members to do the work they do. So that's why I support Go. So what is Go in the first place? On your chair you have a little brochure. It's a one-page, half-pager. You notice we're very efficient with the way we use our resources, so we actually can get two. We get 2 for 1 in that size paper, which makes it really nice. And we have 4 big initiatives that we're working on in the city. We partner with Oakland community organizers, 100 Black Men of the Bay Area, other CBOs and agencies, nonprofit agencies, to increase awareness, but also particularly related to things like site autonomy, staffing, budgeting, curricular decisions, and different things like that. We seriously support that kind of autonomy. We're also working on teacher and parents, working with teachers and parents to ensure that Oakland students have access to great teachers, like amazing, exceptional teachers, each and every day in each and every school, that are focused on each and every kid, each and every day. So, and that's a pretty big unit of work in and of itself. We're also working with the school board and the greater Bay Area community to keep pushing that work, particularly on the policy side. And we're also supporting statewide initiatives to increase resources and funding for public schools. So please take a look at some time during the evening to read that brochure, and then also, I'd be remiss if I didn't put in a plug as a board member of Go to go onto the website if you haven't already done so, to join and become a member and be a part of this incredible network of co-conspirators and educational entrepreneurs who want to transform the school system. So what I want to do now, before I introduce our illustrious keynote speaker, Ted Mitchell, I've just got to say that if you do not know Ted, all right, you are in the presence tonight of an ed sector rock star. Okay, so Ted is the equivalent of Bruce Springsteen or somebody like that. So, you know, yeah. He is. I was going to say, you know, somebody like Michael Jackson, but he's dead, so I'm not going to do that. So I picked Bruce Springsteen. There you go. And it's also not only a live person, but also somebody, you know, of our generation. You know, so you want to kind of keep it in the family. And I had the pleasure, just the complete pleasure, delight of, I ran a nonprofit, as Jessica mentioned, called College Track, and we support under-resourced students who graduated from high school, getting accepted to and completing college. It's a national organization. And I had the pleasure back in, 2000, I should go back, 2005 and 6, yeah. Something like that, of spending a couple of summers with Ted and another group of educational entrepreneurs in actually figuring out and having conversations about how do we interrupt this stuff. Well, we didn't say stuff, but we said another word, but I can't say it here. But how do we essentially interrupt the failure that has been normed in public schools? And we had great conversations and actually created plans and strategies and tactics nationally that he will probably talk a little bit about today. So I therefore really feel like it's just an honor and a privilege to be here, to stand here, to introduce Ted. He's such a maverick leader, and we're all very, very honored to have him here. So I'll tell you a little bit about Ted. Ted is the president and CEO of the New Schools Venture Fund. He has a long education history as an ed reformer in California and nationally. From 2008 through 2010, he served as president of the California State California State Board of Education. Before taking the lead at New Schools Venture in 2005, Ted was president of Occidental College. He was vice chancellor and dean of the School of Education and Information Studies at UCLA. It goes on and on. That's what happens when you're sort of Bruce Springsteen-like. And he was also a professor and chair of the Department of Education at Dartmouth. Dr. Mitchell received his BA, MA, and PhD from Stanford University. Not too shabby. Thank you, Ted, for taking time to support GO and share it. Please come up here and share your perspectives. I would be truly